What's up, everyone? We have an incredible local guest joining us here today, Babar. He is the Chief Titan at iTitans and a true tech entrepreneurship powerhouse. Babar's built over 400 apps and websites in his career, from mobile apps to complex CRMs, serving clients from startups to Fortune 50 giants. Today, he's pulling back the curtain on his decade-plus journey in the tech world. We're diving deep into building and scaling high-performing and remote teams, and we're going into the art and science of taking a product from startup to launch. A quick word from our sponsors. The Business Breakdown podcast is more than just a podcast. It's a community of visionaries, leaders, and those aspiring to be. Join us at the original group and community, facebook.com/group/finance for individuals and businesses. We'll see you there. Join us to connect, learn, and grow together. Whether you're a seasoned tech pro, an aspiring entrepreneur, just fascinated by the digital revolution, this episode is packed with game-changing insights you won't want to miss. All right, let's bring on the Chief Titan himself, Babar. I gave him the wrong address, ladies and gentlemen. He was 2 miles down the road.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, for sure, man. We've been connecting quite a bit recently, and we might even be working on a project here soon together, which is pretty crazy. It's cool, man. It's cool. So you've been in the tech world 10 years.
10 years. Sounds like it. When you say 10 years, sounds too long.
Over a decade. The word decade is a long time.
Yeah, that's what I always heard. You know, a decade is how you put it out there. And now when it's happened, it feels like a long time.
Yeah, no, for sure. Tell us a little bit about the journey. Like, what got you into tech? Because you've built how many apps and how many websites?
I think it's not 400.
Yeah.
Probably that's what I can remember. You know, I don't have a list because there's so much stuff that we didn't track before. You know, I was doing it under this name. But overall, it's been more than 400 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a quick story, right? I'm a business student myself. Was I mute? Yalla, Habibi.
We'll see.
That's okay.
No,
so just about my story. I was a business student, always a marketing student. You know, I loved marketing, how to grow businesses, how to sell. I think I always heard from my professors, you're the sales type. You know, I was like, what's that type? You know, so I was always friendly. I was a people person always. So they were like, oh, you're the sales type growing up in college. So from there, I went into a master's degree. I did my MBA. I was working for other people till that time. You know, I was building and scaling their products or their companies. On the sales side. I sold a bunch of different things from cigarettes to pharmacy franchises, you know, to...
How big was your team then?
So I managed up to 70 people at that time under one of the jobs I was working on. And it gave me a lot of exposure. So I worked for bigger companies. I worked for smaller companies. I learned how to dream, how to aspire, how to have processes. From there, you know, the one thing I realized, and that was when I shifted to the US, is that you got to have your own thing if you want to really create impact. All the people that I knew that were creating impact in their fields were people that, you know, that had their own thing going on in some capacity or the other. So I want to do my own thing. I saw, you know, that tech is something that you can create impact multi-folds. You know, the biggest thing for me was creating impact, creating a change. So I knew with tech, I could create more impact. That's how the idea started. I really honestly jumped into it. I had no real big plan how to do it. I jumped into it. I developed some apps, developed some...
what was your first app?
Models. It was called Influencer Hub. It was a platform connecting social media influencers and brands. This was in 2018 when the idea started. And it came from all my good-looking friends becoming famous on social media. And, you know, leaving their day jobs and doing this full-time. That's when I got the idea of Influencer Hub. And I didn't know tech, so I got it developed from other people offshore.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, other people came up to me that, hey, you know, develop our ideas or develop our apps. That was the start of me jumping really into the tech world to build products for others. That's about 6 years ago now.
So Influencer Hub was the first one. While you were kind of evolving that app, your first iteration, did you just start getting a whole bunch of ideas on a whole bunch of other apps, or?
So if I'm being honest, not really. Till the point that I was focused on Influencer Hub, I was giving it my all. You know, that was my time to sort of be all in, deep dive, focused into one thing. And I was giving it my all. I didn't have any money raised from people. So it was all my own savings and then hustling to make money while building this product. So I was all in, man. I was hustling, making money, doing this day and night. And, slowly when I realized that this is not the only solution I can work on, and I realized honestly that it's not going to be a success as much as I want it to be. That's when, other ideas started popping into my head of doing other things and doing services and, building products for others. So it was just a time thing, honestly.
Yeah. Out of all the apps you've done so far, which one's been your favorite?
Influencer Hub.
Influencer Hub, just because yeah.
That's my baby, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think there's so much potential. I don't work on it anymore, but
was it sold or what happened to it?
Yeah, I partnered up with other people for equity, and I gave it to a few PR agencies who use the app on a white label basis, and I have a little chunk of equity.
Nice.
So yeah, I parked it somewhere.
Residual.
Yeah, I parked it somewhere decent, but yeah, that's been my favorite app that I've built. Not the best one technically, I would say.
Yeah,
it was the first one, but my favorite one for sure.
Yeah. Whenever you started building these apps and everything, that was also pre-ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Pre-AI.
Pre-AI.
Now I would think that the time to build has absolutely decreased, or like maybe from the coding aspect, at least, because I know there's a whole bunch of coding in ChatGPT. I personally don't do coding. I told you I had a full stack team. I actually took a coding class, Code Academy, for a year just to learn how to talk better to my developers. So I understand it a little bit. I know it's very math based. Yeah. It's a math language. But I mean, I don't know how powerful ChatGPT and how accurate it is with coding, but I've only heard good things.
Yeah. I was talking about this with a friend today. If you're building small solutions, small ideas, or basic MVPs, AI is helpful. But if you're building anything a little complex, a little more enterprise, AI is still not there. I think it's gonna be there. But anything which has more impact, has more back-end work, AI is not so good. Anything that has more front-end work, more user interface sort of a work, AI, is pretty decent. I would still not use it for my clients,
right?
Even to date. And I debate it all the time, but I still don't think it's there, because the professionalism, the human touch, that comes through actual people working on it.
The customer experience that you're trying to create.
Yeah, the business technology part. I think AI is still not there. It's going to be for sure, though. It's not. I don't think it's still there yet.
Yeah. With AI coming into play, do you think? I'm going to preface with, I do not think that AI will take over the world. I think AI is a crazy, awesome tool to use. And to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure this is one of the only times we've had these rich company owners go to the government and say, hey, we actually need to create a governing body for this because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yes, it definitely is. But I think that there is more, those people who are creating it are also good. They have a better heart than, giving it to someone we shouldn't trust. Obviously, they wouldn't invest in something unstable or anything like that. But it's just been an interesting transition, and to see these people go to the government, it's just a complete turn of events kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the basic issue is that humans are scared of change, any change. And we always say that, we love change and all that. But I think basic instinct is that we are scared of change.
Yeah.
So whenever something cool like this comes in, there's always people who are, skeptical, people who are scared. And rightly so, when you see deep fakes of people going on and stuff like that, it gets a little weird, no? So,
and their voices too.
Yeah, voices, video, everything is happening.
It's used on ads, like The Rock's voice was used on a couple ads that are getting lawsuits, and now
I mean, dead singers are having albums released. I saw that happening, but I think there's more good than bad anyways.
Yeah,
I think that's what I believe in generally also. So I think that's what's going to be the case. And I really hope that we do have some regulations, because that's going to be very important to keep this in check.
Yeah. Speaking about kind of bad stuff in the tech industry, I know that with any kind of software building, I mean, honestly, it's all super expensive, and you can't get a cheap job and have it work unless you build it yourself. What are things that people should look out for? What are scenarios that you've heard of or come across?
Yeah, and I get a little backlash from my fellows in this industry when I talk about these things. But I think it's our moral responsibility when we work with any people who are not in our industry to guide them in the right direction. Mm-hmm. It's like how sometimes the roofing or the construction industry is, bad-mouthed about a few things. So tech has become very similar. There's a lot of skilled people in the industry. There's a lot of good people, but a few bad fish, they ruin the pond. So in that context, a few things that I would want people to look out when they're building tech is, number one, really asking themselves, what do they need? Mm-hmm. Not what they want, what they need before going into a solution. Number two, making sure that you have options. As an agency, when I know my clients have options, I want to give them my best offer always, and I'm saying myself, but I mean generally. Number three, don't try to work with middle layers. If you're working with an agency, try to have the actual developers who are developing your product work with you. What happens is a lot of agencies, they don't give access to resources directly. They always have a middle layer, like a PM or like a project manager, a product manager, or some sort of a middle layer that is helping you communicate. So that really is not a good practice, for multiple reasons. Mainly because if I don't know the people who are building my house, I don't know what sort of work they're doing till actually the house is complete. So I want to actually see my house being constructed and not have the final product only, because that is the time when I can make quick changes, when I can improve, and I can have better quality material and, all the fun stuff.
Right.
So it's very important that you work and know people who are building your house. They also give you great advice. People who are working on your product will always give you great advice. One last thing that I would say is to look out for is the pricing. If you see the agency you're working for has offshore resources, there has to be a price cut. As if agencies is hiring in India or some other part of the world and still charging US rates, that's a red flag, because that means they're paying very less, of course, than in another country, but still charging you so much more. So I think the greed part really shows and comes up right away. These are a few things basically when you're starting off to look out for, I guess.
Yeah. The couple things that I immediately thought of as you were kind of listing that stuff off, I was just trying to think of problems I really had with developing software or apps in the past, or not apps, but software. Because I did more web-based stuff that I didn't develop. I just designed the user interface, the processes and stuff like that. So I created the customer service aspect. Mm-hmm. But with those teams, it was better if we went over everything from top to bottom and laid out everything by line, just to make sure that it got done before we even started the project. Because there were a handful of times when I would see, hey, we need this, and this done. We said it was like this from the other system. We agreed on it. Oh, but it's not in the document. And just getting away like that is, I don't know. It's a gray area. Ethical, unethical, you can view it both ways. But the stuff has to be listed on the document in order for it to get done, for them to be responsible for it. It's contract binding.
Yeah.
If it's international, it'd be a little bit tougher for anything to happen. So you definitely need to make sure then.
Yeah. And the problem really occurs when, let's say we do the initial documentation right, but then what if you want changes along the path?
Scope creep.
Yeah. So that is where the fun part comes in. Hey, we agreed to this price for these features. I want to charge extra. There's going to be too much effort. This is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that is where the fun part comes in. That is where the trust part, the relationship part comes in. So yeah, that's also very important.
How do you deal with scope creep? Because I know that you have probably all of your clients have had scope creep.
Yeah. So
it happens.
Yeah, it totally happens. So my basic instinct with people is that nobody knows 100%, when they're starting something.
Mm-hmm.
Tech is never perfect. That's also something I believe in. So I always have that room, that margin to like bring in changes and agree to changes more than other agencies, especially if I think it's needed. If I'm developing a product for the past 2 years and AI has just, changed the world, I cannot ignore that. If I'm ignoring that, I'm, setting up my product or my client's product up for failure. So I always try to think of it as my own product and try to bring in as many changes as I can. But sometimes it becomes tough because some clients, they really want to stretch you out in terms of paying the same amount and then getting a lot of, changes, scope creep, stuff done. And then you have to, sort of put your foot down sometimes and agree to certain rates hourly or something to manage. I think one very good strategy that I've learned in smaller products, when I say smaller, I mean non-enterprise clients, is that you should make working prototypes first. If you are able to develop a prototype, something which is front end only, it clicks and it works like an app, but it doesn't have a back end. 95% of the questions that people have in their minds are sort of answered, So recently we've been doing that strategy more. Unless somebody has a very big solution to work on, then you go in a different route.
Yeah. All that definitely makes sense. Whenever you're kind of breaking it down, since we're kind of on the topic, from idea to launch, what does that process look like?
So mainly there are 4 steps, that come in. Again, these can be sub steps, but the main 4 steps come in the idea and discovery, where you actually discuss the idea, you discover and refine the idea. We also call it refinement. So the discovery phase is number 1. In this phase, you go deep down, you ask questions, you have a very critical approach as the founder and as the team. Number 2 is the design phase, where you put all of that, that you have in your mind onto an actual image, onto actual colors, font, screens. And that should be working. It should be clickable and working. Number 3 is actual development. So this is where the founders are not really needed, but if they want to, they can stay involved because it's a lot of coding happening and a lot of what you've designed being implemented and coded on. And then is launch, deployment and launch. And this is a very interesting phase because over here, your business mind comes into play the most. How you want to launch, when you want to launch, the timing. You don't want to be the Skype of COVID times, and you want to be the Zoom of COVID times. So the timing becomes really important. How much you have to spend, how can you spend that? All this fun stuff comes into this last part. And then, of course, after this, there's feedback and always ever changing iterations and improvements.
Man.
Yeah. So for 4, if I have to list down: discovery, design, development, and launch.
Launch is always exciting. It's all that effort, and you finally kind of just get to sit back and relax for 5 minutes before you start fixing stuff again.
Yeah, I don't think there's relaxed time in launch though. It's an interesting time.
That's why it's 5 minutes. That's funny. I was curious. So you've been doing remote teams for a while. Remote teams is something that a lot of people struggle with. What keeps your team together?
I think trust is the basis of a lot of relationships, and this is over here too, on both sides, on my client end, on my team end. There has to be a stick and carrot rule always. With any teams, not even remote, there has to be incentives, there has to be checks, procedures and policies. One thing that I've learned over the past, half a decade working with remote teams all across the world. I've done Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe, South America. even North America remotely, you need to have trustworthy people managing. You need to have trustworthy people who sort of have skin in the game managing. If I'm hiring in Eastern Europe, I don't know about their culture, about their people, about how they operate. I need to have somebody who has skin in the game, knowing that and managing that. So that's one thing that really helped me. That really helped me. That whenever I want to hire more than a few people, let's say more than 5, I need to have somebody local managing them who understands them more than I do.
Yeah.
So that's very important.
How do you make sure they have skin in the game?
There's various ways. How I have done it with my main people is that I've given them vested equity over a period of 5 years in the main areas.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then there's some revenue-based models that you can look into if you don't want to give away equity or you don't feel comfortable enough in the start. There's bonuses. There's a lot of different ways. I believe in more the equity part. You can't give to everybody, but a few of my main people have some skin in the game like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Man.
And I do also believe, man, this is something that we don't really talk about sitting in this part of the world. There's really cool people out there. There's really cool, hardworking people out there. They're just unlucky to be born in other parts of the world. That's why they're probably earning less than us and they have less opportunity than us in a lot of different aspects. And I'm a big advocate of the global economy, a global village. We all say that, but I don't think a lot of people know or believe in that. So I do believe in giving fair chances to people all across the world. If it floats my boat, I don't care what their culture is, religion is, language is, skin color is. And if it floats my boat, I want to give equal opportunities. And I do want more people to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like a lot of your team is like that as well. Like how you are has rubbed off or you sought for like people who are similar.
Yeah. In a lot of good ways and some bad ways.
How's that?
But I've seen a lot of people and people rub off from other people's energy, right? Mm-hmm. People run off other people's energy and they like the vibe, they sense the vibe, they follow the vibe sometimes. A lot of my leads, especially, they would be portraying a lot of energy that I have or our team has. So that's very good. And it also comes over longer term sometimes, it takes a few years to sort of come to a good middle point with people. The bad things I was just kidding about, but there's some things which sometimes I do, which my team doesn't like. And somehow they start doing it slowly. For example, one thing I told you is that I would take in changes a lot. Mm-hmm. My team hates that. 90%. And slowly they start to understand and slowly they start to believe, my belief is, very simple that you grow, we grow. Yeah. So that strategy, a lot of developers won't understand. They're like, okay, I have 9 hours. I have to work 9 hours, code, and then go home and chill. Why do I spend 12 hours if he's in a freaking launch or something? So my belief of, if they grow, we're going to grow multiple folds and it's going to come back to us. That has creeped into my team slowly. But still, it's a very interesting conversation whenever we have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely get it. It's just a small perception. They're very technical individuals. And they're obviously developers aren't the only ones who would think like this, but kind of span around a little bit. With apps and stuff that you've built, I'm curious if you've ever had to completely pivot a product.
Not 100%, but yes, when COVID came, I was working on a few health tech technologies that were more on the ground. COVID changed so many things. So we had to change the product a lot. We had to shift it all to telehealth. It was basically a in-person consultation community sort of a product. And then we had to take it all to virtual, virtual world, telehealth and all that. So that was a very big shift. Shifts keep happening. A lot of products I've seen, we had to recode, redevelop, change language stacks because cooler things have come in the market before the launch. Do a lot of database changes. That's very common. Hey, I was using, MySQL. I want to use NoSQL now, or stuff like that because of certain reasons. We're always open. Being in an agile world, the core of startup tech is being agile. So we are always agile, and we reflect that and we believe in that. So whatever the business need is at that time, you have to understand and sort of sometimes get it done.
Yeah. Um, in that same sense, have you had to correct a client or kind of give them more insight, which made them change their idea?
All the time, man. Like most of my clients love me, some hate me for that.
Yeah.
As I said, I'll give you an example, right? So I was on a call with the attorney based out of Florida a couple of months ago, and this guy knew nothing about tech. He's an attorney. Now he has some other random idea that he wants to develop. Not a random, it's a good idea, honestly, but some other idea he wants to develop. First call we are in, the whole hour, we talk about just his idea and how I think it's shit. Because I think it should be changed.
Yeah.
And I'm like talking to him like I would talk to my cousin probably, or, like a close friend, being very straight, with what I think. Till now, we've not discussed any rates, any plan, anything. And he's not a rich dude. He's a decent attorney who has his own office and stuff. At the end of the call, he tells me, "Hey man, I don't know what your rates are. I don't know how much this is going to cost, but I'm going to work with you." And on the call, we were constantly arguing because he was defending his idea. I was telling him, no, this is not right and stuff like that. He taught me a few things. I taught him a few things. But by the end of the call, it all turned out to be good because he wanted to work with me. The idea was refined. He had more ideas and direction of where he wants to go. So I think that is taking ownership from day one is very important. And this has opened so many doors for me. Yep. However I'm involved, in the end, I'm earning money through you. I'm earning bread through you. So that I have to justify that for my own personal moral reasons.
Right.
So I feel obligation to take ownership. And sometimes I might be wrong. I'm a human. Sometimes my thought process might be wrong, and then the client corrects me. But at least we have that out of the way. We're on the same page when we start.
Open communication and transparency.
Yeah, that's very important. Very important.
Yeah.
Some people shy away because they're vendors and they think like vendors. That, hey, we got this job, we got to do this job. But I think the more open you become, the more fun it becomes.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like building it together. It's a lot more exciting that way too, especially whenever you feel like your vendor, client, or the person that you're using to build the app is also giving ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels a lot more genuine.
Yeah.
And not just to you, but the app will also create a lot more genuine connections because it all comes down to, user interface, customer experience. But I think it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful of apps that are out there. I was curious. Is there an app that you want to build that you haven't started?
Oh man, so as a habit, I do what I want. I try to do what I want. But whenever my key developers are off projects, I try to build stuff, just for fun. They're not something I've thought about completely. There's not something that I know where this is going to go, but I have a handful of products in different industries lying around. So I do want more time and...
Oh, what's K-Hub? I meant to ask you about that. What's K-Hub? I saw that whenever I was scrolling through your profile.
Yeah. I'll come to K-Hub, but I classify as a builder, right? So I always love to build stuff, and it's fun to build for other people. And I take ownership, but in the end, what stake do I have in that? That's gonna come down to that after a few years. What's something that I can earn through passively or actively. So whenever I earn through services, I always try to put more money back, but into products. One of the main products I've put back in the last 3.5 years now, 3.5 years, is K-Hub. K-Hub is Commerce Hub. I have a partner based out of Tampa, Florida. That's where I was for 5 years before I moved here. And we have a team based out of Tampa and some global people. About 45 odd people are working on this solution since the past 3 years. And it's a platform that digitizes wholesale and distribution operations. So the wholesale industry in the US is very, very traditional, very old school. There's a lot of room for digitization. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have them digitize their operations through our platform. And it's a huge world inside the wholesale industry,
Wholesaling
anything.
houses and products.
Inventory-based products.
Okay.
Inventory-based products. So any physical inventory that you carry,
Yep.
And you have a wholesale location for that, inventory-based, that's what we target. We come under the SAP Oracle layer. SAP and Oracle are huge companies that charge hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for you to manage your business. We come under that. Anybody who cannot afford these products or who are not big enough to need those products are our potential clients. Right now, we have been in about half a dozen industries, but the product we've made is industry agnostic. Slowly, we're expanding to different industries. Next week, I'm going to our first big conference, which is generic. It's based out of Vegas, and there's going to be hundreds of industries and thousands of wholesalers out there. So I'm very excited to see, what other industries we can tap into with K-Hub now.
Man, K-Hub's interesting. How do you meet your partner?
Through food. So he owned a restaurant. I've told this a few people. He owned a restaurant near my college, USF Tampa, right across the street, and he owned a snack, snacky sort of a restaurant, not proper food, but snacks and stuff like that, Indian food. So we used to go there very often. And I was like a student leader at that time. I was the captain of my sports team.
Sports? What
team.
Sport?
Cricket.
Cricket? I wasn't sure.
Yep, cricket. That's a big part of my life. Anyhow, so he saw me as a little student leader of sorts, and he always told me, hey, I want to do something with you. I always thought he was kidding. Why would an established person who has restaurants and grocery stores and blah, blah, blah want to work with somebody like me, who's just graduating? So I didn't take him seriously till, he made me take him seriously. So just before COVID, we were about to launch a food truck chain, a chain of food trucks, because he was in that industry already. But I'm glad we didn't buy our first one. We were about to when COVID came. And then this opportunity presented, and he came up to me with the idea, honestly. And since then, we've connected, and we're building it like brothers. Honestly, it's been a very, very interesting partnership.
That's cool. Are you guys close in age?
Yeah, he's our generation. He's probably late 30s. I'm early 30s. So very similar thought processes.
Does he like cricket?
He likes cricket. He thinks I'm a superstar because he doesn't play a lot, and I play a little bit.
All right.
But he likes to watch cricket. He doesn't play a lot, though.
Do you think, and this is completely off topic, but do you think someone from cricket can come and play baseball, or someone from baseball can go and play cricket?
Man, so recently what's been happening, I can talk about this for hours. Recently, I don't know how many people know, especially, your audience more, that the US participated in their first ever Cricket World Cup. And most of the games were based out of Dallas. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So surprising. And this is the biggest event of the cricket world. But it was mismanaged and stuff like that. So not a lot of local people know. But the US actually qualified to the second stage, which is a huge thing. Because the US has never ever played a World Cup. They got to play this one because they were a host nation. And the host nation gets to qualify automatically. But they really surprised. They beat my home country, Pakistan. And I still have mixed feelings about it. But I was so happy. A lot of people, since the World Cup is happening, and since the past couple of years, the cricket is growing big, especially in Dallas, we see a lot of Americans who like and play baseball come into cricket because it's very similar. I define cricket as baseball with a bounce. So a lot of people in our local club, even, we get baseball players who want to come and play. Technique is different, and you have to, sort of play around it like every other sport. But there's very similar.
I'm sure a lot of the technical aspects, like I don't want to get into it. So I played baseball also for like 10 years.
Yeah, you should come try cricket.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I've always wanted to. I've always been kind of curious, but I don't really hang out with people who play cricket. I don't really hang out with people who are in sports right now anyway. But no, I've always wanted to. But I did baseball for like 10 years and then, a little bit longer, but I completely quit so I can concentrate a lot more on boxing. And my dad put a lot of time into me in baseball. He put 0 time into me in boxing. So whenever he found out that I was just going straight boxing, he was a little upset, but yeah, I'm sure I could still swing a bat pretty good. I actually attribute a lot of my, so in boxing, I had pretty significant power for my size. I knocked out most of my opponents. And I attribute a lot of that power to swinging a bat, swinging a bat, throwing a baseball, knowing the hip rotation. Yeah, it's all interesting. Muscle memory kind of thing.
And when I came to the US, I was sort of past my dream of playing cricket professionally, which I had, and it's a long story, but
what? I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the biggest part of my life, I think, how I learned and how I dreamt and how I grew. Anyhow, so when I came to the US in 2017, I thought I wanted to, shift to baseball because cricket was not popular at all at that time. And, baseball is cool and, I want to try. But I understood very quickly there's a lot more power and strength needed, especially upper body.
Yeah.
That is not really needed in cricket. So I was like, nah, I can't be in the gym for like 10 hours. So I didn't try a lot then.
Yeah. Man, I think I don't even know the rules to cricket. Like I'd have to start from the basics. Like the 3 pulls, is that 3 strikes kind of thing?
No.
Okay, I'm way off.
Strikes, yeah.
I'm way off. I'm way off. Don't scold.
You gotta stop by. You gotta stop by at a club at a game sometimes, and gotta see. Love to have you and have you see a couple of games.
Yeah, for sure. And I probably 30% of my clientele are probably like cricket. They're from areas where cricket is popular. The Middle East, India, there's a handful of others, but there's pretty big communities in like Irving. And I have my Google Maps. I'm number 1 in that area. So anytime they need health insurance or something like that, I get a call.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it's an awesome clientele. They're very, very humble.
Yeah. It's when once you start playing, imagine how much more they love you.
Yeah. Probably get me a jersey and let's do it.
Yeah, for sure, man.
That'd be fun. What else? Did you play any other sports or cricket?
So I was always very good with anything with a bat or a racket, So I played badminton, nothing professionally like cricket, but I played badminton for my college. I played table tennis. I played a little bit tennis. I love pickleball.
How's your table tennis?
It's okay. It's decent.
We got a table out there.
I mean, we can compete. I was up for a challenge, but yeah, anything with a bat or a racket, naturally, I'm decent at. Volleyball was one sport that I played. I had a lot of fun, but nothing as good as I played cricket. Yeah. But sports is a big part of my life, man. I don't know, probably off topic, but I think everybody needs to play sports. Even if you don't, like how you say that everybody needs to work out, I think everybody needs to play sport. Workout is okay. Some people like it, some people don't. But you should be playing sports and you should be forcing your kids to play sports.
Right.
Competitively, at least a couple of them.
Especially whenever they're young. They need to learn how to lose and learn how to fight through it.
So many things, man. So many things like every day, man. Still, I've been playing cricket for like 80 years out of my 30 in my life. But still, I learn every day, I think. When I step on the field, there's some little things that you associate and learn and connect subconsciously and consciously. I think it's the most beautiful thing, that exists. You have to have some competition in sports in your life always.
Yep. And it's pretty good if you can compete against yourself. It's pretty good.
Most of that is that. Most of sport is that.
Yeah.
Is you and yourself and probably your team. How can you become better versions? So I think that's the basis of a lot of sports.
Yeah. Man, that's cool. Yeah, I did basketball a little bit, football. I actually do miss football. I was one of the smallest guys on the field, but I was one of the fastest, and I hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
And because of boxing, I had faster hand speed, and hand speed kind of comes into play whenever you play defense. And that's what I played. And I played corner So I would be defending a receiver. So
So
whenever,
you're pretty sporty yourself, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
your dad wanted to support you to play baseball.
Baseball.
Did he play baseball himself?
Yeah, he played
Yeah, that's
baseball. My sisters played softball.
Yeah.
He did fast pitch coach.
Yeah.
He was a pitching coach for a long
I
time.
think that's one very big thing, right? How much support do you have from family?
Yeah,
And that's not only for sports, for all the things, not in family, just people around you. I
right.
think having a good support system is like super, super crucial, in every aspect
Yeah,
alongside sports. But that's one thing I've always been blessed with, man. My mom says I'm lucky, and it's probably her prayers or whatever, but I always find very good support in whatever I'm doing,
yeah.
touch wood. But that's a very one important aspect of my life too.
My mom was the one who would take me to boxing, not my dad. Almost every day she would take me, and if she wasn't taking me, then someone from the gym would come and pick me up and take me and bring me back.
Yeah.
I lived there, and that was also kind of an introduction to my culture, like understanding more culture, because I went to like mainly an all white middle school and high school. But whenever you go to a combative gym, whether it's MMA or boxing or something similar, and you're the only white boy, you definitely learn a couple things. But it's all those people that are in that gym, they turn into your brothers, because whenever you're beating yourself and you're beating each other, just trying to become better, you trade blood, sweat, tears, punches, leather. I mean, everything. I could hit up a lot of my boxing buddies right now. I could call them and they would answer, just because we're like that.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think that's so beautiful. That's across all sports. Anything you share a field with somebody,
Brotherhood, sisterhood.
It's a different vibe. It's a different vibe altogether. Yeah,
especially in like softball. I mean, even volleyball. Like on the girls' side, because they have chants and stuff like that. There's a little more camaraderie than you would see like on an MLB team.
Yeah,
where like the guy just hit his first home run, and now the whole bench is pretending that they didn't see it, so they're not congratulating him. So they wait 30 seconds while he's in there just packing up his stuff. Yeah, even though he just got his first home run. You see pranks like that all the time. It's all fun and games and stuff, but there is a pretty big difference. So it's interesting to hear and see the chants. But one thing that we don't have here in the States, speaking of sports, we don't have as many chants as they do overseas, like with soccer. Or like they just don't have chants and stuff. Like, have you ever been to the Londoner?
No.
Okay, so the Londoner is like a European kind of sports hangout, but it's usually soccer. They're drinking like 7 a.m. on a Sunday to watch soccer. And they're out there and it's like 8 a.m., not drunk, but everyone's, feeling loose and chanting, and it's 8 a.m. on a Sunday. It's just a different environment.
I mean, I think generally as Americans, we're more, in good words, focused, but in bad words, uptight.
Yeah.
We don't chill a lot.
Yeah.
We are always
on the go.
On the go. I think Europeans and even Asians, and for that matter of fact, they take more time to themselves, friends, family, themselves. They have more fun things like these going on. We have our fair share of fun, but that's where I think all these interesting things come from.
Yeah. Having fun's a really big piece, and I know a lot of Americans that are miserable compared to other nationalities.
Having what you said, friends?
Just having fun along the way.
Yeah.
Because like, it doesn't matter if you're an hourly employee. It doesn't matter if you're building a business. You have to have fun along the way. Yeah. Be able to make jokes when stuff goes bad.
Yeah.
And recover from that stuff. But just having fun is a really big piece.
Yeah. Also, I think this also comes from just how you've grown up. How serious or how your parents and your friends and your family around you has handled pressure in their life. Because when I think back, whenever anything bad happens, either I'm thinking about cricket mostly, or my parents or my close friends and how they handle pressure times. That is when I understand that, man, they do it with a smile on their face and joking around, and like everything is okay. So that's always inspiring to have something like that.
The
In the good way.
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
I was just saying that just having people around you who carry out life in a fun,
Oh yeah, yeah.
non-pressure sort of a way is very interesting. That inspires you at all times. I've been lucky to have people who have had a smile on their face through very, very bad times. So those people have always inspired me. In the good way.
Yeah, it can definitely be tough to smile through tough times. There's a saying, and I always thought about my dad whenever I heard this, but the bravest thing is knowing that you're the only one who's afraid. And I just always thought that was an interesting quote, but it also, there's good and bad aspects to that because you're shielding the outside world from actually what's going on within. So you're not able to heal or grow much whenever you have that kind of thought process. But at the same time, sometimes you have to put on that mask.
Yeah. You can't be a lone warrior in this world, especially these days with so much going on all across the globe.
Yep.
You need to have a close circle. It can be friends, family, partners, whatever. But I think a close circle, you have to open up. You have to be vulnerable. You can't be to everyone because they'll eat you, rip you apart if you're always, vulnerable to random people. But close circle is very important. And I've always been blessed, as I said. When I started my first company, I have a few very good friends, who really supported me through that time, tough times when when shit was not going right.
You want to give them a shout out? They're good.
Man,
those are good people. Those are the good people.
Yeah, really, really good people. My old friends, friends from school, my family, a few people that I met while I was here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting to meet, very good people when I came here, like when I was 24, 25. You think you've made your friends already, but I met beautiful people, man. I met people who really mean a lot to me till now. And yeah, they've always been there. Sometimes you don't talk to them that often, but just seeing them around you, and whenever you talk, it's like closed circle talk. So
you pick up right where you left off.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. So I'm grateful to God for that.
Man, have you had any of your friends from Pakistan come to here to the States?
Yeah, man. A lot of people, unfortunately, right now, the past few years, the situation in Pakistan is really bad economically because of political instability.
Have you seen the stuff with Venezuela?
Yeah, some things are similar. What's happening in Pakistan?
Yeah,
it's just power games that always keep happening. But yeah, man, a lot of people are US is the dreamland for a lot of people from that part of the world. And I'm blessed to be here, and I try to support and bring in people as much as I can. We have a very good thing that we offer to our employees is H-1B job visas. I don't know how much you know about it, but it's a skilled labor visa people have. So every year we apply for top 15, 20 people. And some of them get picked and get to move here. Recently two of our guys moved here from Pakistan, and hopefully they're going to be changing their life now.
Yeah.
So I try to be...
That's so cool.
Yeah, I try to be a means of that stuff happening because I know the pain. Yeah. I've seen the pain. I know the pain, what's happening and going on. So I try to help out as much as I can. And a lot of people want to move to the Western part of the world for more opportunities.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of opportunity. I mean, there's opportunity anywhere, but where the money flows, you can always catch it. As long as you kind of...
That's the best part about the US, right? The money flows.
Yeah.
People don't always keep it, possess it. It flows. You tip a waiter tips a Uber guy tips somebody else. The money, as small examples, is always flowing. Mm-hmm. That's very good thing about the US that I've seen.
Yeah, it's cool, man. That's cool that you're bringing a handful of people here. Are they coming to DFW as well?
One guy came to our Tampa office.
Okay.
Because he...
Is that for K-Hub?
That's for K-Hub.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He's a super cool guy. We applied for 10 people. It's a lottery system. So that one guy got picked. And luckily he was the one who was the first employee on the technical side, and he was the most hardworking one. I was praying that he gets picked, and luckily he got picked, of the 10 people that applied. Usually 1 to 10 is the ratio that get picked in the lottery. But yeah, he's a few months in. It's a whole new world for him, It's a whole new, he's never even left his city before this.
Yeah.
Never sat on a plane, never left his city.
And he just skipped town.
Yeah, he
skipped countries, skipped continent.
Thousands of miles.
Skipped an ocean.
Yeah. So he's really pumped, excited, nervous, all good things and all, tough feelings. But the good thing is that we have a team over there.
Yeah.
They're very supportive of him moving in and settling. And he's already, I can feel him growing day by day as he's moving here. Things that took me probably years happening more
to catch on. And yeah.
So I'm really happy. One more guy is going to DFW. So
nice.
He's a UI engineer.
Nice.
So stuff that you also do.
Yeah.
So and he's working with one of our dedicated clients since the past 2 years.
Good.
And he got picked. That client is also based out of DFW. So I'm excited for him too, man. It's just if God gives us a chance, we have to pass it on. It has to be passed on.
I made a post recently. You're not successful until you give back. Whether you're mentoring someone, just helping someone out, just giving back to the community.
Yeah.
Just something.
Yeah. My dad always told me growing up that whatever you give, you'll get 10x back. So he said this, and this was fed to me so many times that this became a part of my belief system. Mm-hmm. So now, even if I'm not a very good person, even if I'm being selfish, I give back a lot because I know it's going to come back at least 10 times. It's strongly like in my core now.
Yeah.
So I try as much as I can. Man.
I mean, it's living proof. You've had the experience, and now you've had quite a bit come back to you.
Yeah.
And you're able to continue giving back and just feeding that, circle of gratitude and good karma, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
But,
for sure, man.
That's cool. So what are the next couple steps with iTitans?
So
what are you thinking?
Yeah, so it's always about changing and adapting new strategies. My overall goal with tech services always has been, one, to help more people achieve their dreams. People that are not able to build good tech, build good business technology, help them build that, help them increase their ROI and their business and make it more efficient. And two, personally, to make money, to be part of success stories, and to build my own products. Yeah. So on the same strategy, we're going all in with K-Hub, which is my major investment in terms of product. I also make some smaller investments with a few entrepreneurs who are starting off in terms of money, time, efforts. So probably a half a dozen, things I have little stakes in where I want to help them be more successful. I'm recently launching a program called the MVP Machine. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm formalizing it. And I think that's going to be my next focus for the next few years with iTitans.
What is that?
It's basically...
can you talk about it? Can you go into detail?
Yeah,
okay.
For sure. It's a you grow, we grow strategy in action. I want to handhold, take people who are stuck with ideas in their mind. There can be people who are students, who are people in jobs, and I'm doing a job. How can I launch? People who have other things that they're focused on. Man, I have my main business. How can I do this along the side? People who have financial problems, time problems. People who think tech is scary. I want to take things from those people and help them launch, go to market. Be that middle person who helps them. Execute. Yeah. Everything in their mind is so cooked. It's well done. It's a well done steak, and it doesn't need to be, So they have to launch. They have to execute. That's where I come in with the MVP Machine. We take their idea, we refine it, we tweak it with their consent, and with the working with them closely. We help them go to market at a very, very efficient, much more cost efficient way, so they can validate their idea in real life from market. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks their idea is life changing and so cool. But trust me, half of them are not so cool. And you only get to know once you actually launch. So build the idea quickly. We help you do that. Go to market, get some traction, get some validation, come back and build it further. That's what MVP Machine is all about.
That's awesome. That sounds like a really good project. I think that'll be a pretty good turnout, especially because it's like, more discovery for people. It's easier discovery to see and like understand like the very basics.
Yeah. And one thing that we do right away in MVP machine is we help them visualize, because people have things in their mind. Number one, we help them write them down, use the requirements, and then we help them visualize. We make prototypes and designs that help them think, about the project, about, what exactly I need to see as a user and stuff like that. So that's one very important thing. Humans are always more visual, beings. So that's one thing that we're doing. And we do it on a no commitment basis. You come and you do this little visualization refinement activity with us. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to pursue after that, and you want to do it yourself or with somebody else, you just go and do it. My goal with MVP machine is very simple, just to help them go to market.
Yeah.
I'm not earning a bunch through this anyways. So if I can help you with my design team only, I'll help you do that.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Is there an industry that you really want to target over the next 10 years? Ooh. So 10 years out, what do you think are going to be the changes that kind of come into the tech industry? Because AI is already cutting out a lot of production to scale systems. Yeah. So I feel like it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier. I think a lot of people are going to be cut out. A lot of coding robots that we have in the world, humans, they are going to be cut out. You need to be a business tech person, not a tech person.
Yeah.
Only tech won't exist in 10 years. It's going to be business tech. It's going to be people who are enablers and not developers. You have to be an enabler who can get stuff done. I think the middle layer, the product management layer, is going to become super important.
Yeah.
How they can use AI, how they can efficiently have their teams use AI has become super important. And it's going to be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Either you be a part or you get left behind, And then also I think one industry that's going to be very big is going to be the augmented reality space.
You said augmented reality?
Yeah. The augmented and virtual reality space. It picked up and then died down because of a lot of reasons, including, legal stuff that's been happening. But I think once the legal stuff is out of the way and we have a path to follow, I think there's so much to be done in the VR, AR space.
You ever seen Ready Player One?
Which one?
Ready Player One?
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about that earlier today.
Yeah.
Actually, probably a couple hours ago. I think it's a classic. I think the concept, and it's already coming true. I've seen, I think it's Microsoft that was developing the floor that you can walk on. It's a whole bunch of miniature rollers, and you're standing in place, you're walking, but you're not moving anywhere. But so in the video game or, whatever virtual world, you're walking, and you're walking, you feel that you're walking. It's just, I can't imagine.
Yeah, man, and that's funny because a lot of cool tech, or at that time sci-fi movies from 20, 30 years ago, you see half of them in the real world now, so I think, and that's scary too.
Yeah.
If you watch like Black Mirror and stuff like that,
You said Blade Runner?
Black Mirror.
Oh, okay, yeah. A Blade Runner is a Cybertruck, I think. I thought that was funny.
You watch an episode,
Black Mirror.
Stuff and
I've actually never seen Black Mirror. I was told I specifically need to watch Black Mirror.
It's a good and bad thing, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Because those things are going to be real. Half of them probably already are in the pipeline or are being done. So it's scary, very scary, and it's also very cool. Depends on what lens you put on. But I think that's how you dream, right? Artists always create reality, and they might come later on in life. The realities might come 20, 30 years later. But I think artists and people who are creative, they create realities, long term.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to those creators. I've always just liked building. I didn't know how to build or how to structure or anything until I was like in my late teens, because I got into corporate whenever I was 17, 18. And that's kind of whenever I started understanding business and stuff like that. I didn't really care about work in the beginning because I was still boxing. Boxing was my future. I wanted to, eventually be in the Hall of Fame and, all that stuff.
You dream big like that.
I dream big everywhere. Yeah. It doesn't matter where I go.
So tell me something. Do you still do active sports? Do you still do sports actively?
So, not necessarily. I've beat up my body a lot over the years.
Same.
I did not give my body enough time to rest. I did not sleep enough. I did not, and my nutrition was not on point 100%. Whenever I was younger, because I obviously didn't know the things I know now. I didn't have money to pay for a nutritionist or any of that stuff. So I had to do a lot of my own research. But generally speaking, I was a well-oiled machine, but looking back on it, I think I could have been 10 times better. And I think I'll always think that, just because I'll always be critical of myself. That's just,
so
I always want to improve.
Yeah. How's the transition been from somebody who loves and plays competitive sports to just being in business?
It was a complete 180. So in the boxing world, whenever I was competing, I had a lot of respect. I had respect from my friends, my family. I had respect just going into a random gym. Not necessarily random, but going into a gym where I was known, people knew of me. Even some gyms that didn't necessarily know me, they had heard of me.
Yeah.
And that just having that level of respect and notoriety where you can not necessarily walk in anywhere, but walk into a gym and just start shaking hands and start talking to people because they know of you. And that was... And then going to the business world where you're nobody.
Yeah.
You don't know anything. You don't have a degree.
Yeah.
You're given an hourly check. You make a bonus. You think you're rich.
Yeah.
My first paycheck was actually $267 or $276. I was washing dishes at a Thai food restaurant the day I turned 15. It's actually a good story. I haven't ever really shared that.
Yeah,
but
share it, man. Share
so
it. I love Thai food anyways. So.
Don't even get me started. I can survive on Thai food. Whenever they ask, well, what's the one food you could survive on the rest of your life? Thai food.
Yeah.
So the day I turned 15, my dad said he had a surprise for me. For whatever reason, I was thinking a car. But there was no way. That wasn't going to happen. But he was like, yeah, get in my car. We'll go for a drive real quick. So I get in his car, we go for a drive, and we pull up to my favorite restaurant. It's this Thai food restaurant. It's called Noodle Swing in Flower Mountain. It's still probably there, still probably rated the best, number one best.
Yeah, in Flower Mountain.
Thai food. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We'll have to go to it. But I just so happened to go to this restaurant. My dad's whatever. Or my dad said, go inside and ask for an interview. And then, so I said, what? I'm like, it's my birthday. He said, just go inside and ask for an interview. So I did it, went inside and asked for an interview. They gave me an interview on the spot. They gave me the job on the spot. And they said, when can you start? And I didn't know. I was 15. And I said, I'll get back to you. I went back to the truck, told my dad what happened. And he said, get in there. You're starting today. Happy birthday.
Allah, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my 15th birthday.
Oh, what a birthday gift.
Yeah. I started working. But it's definitely a really big lesson. And he taught me a lot of other lessons along the way. Like whenever I got my first check, he saw that I turned it all into cash and threw it up in the room and, all that stuff. And he was like, no, you got to get a bank account. So he took me to Wachovia, which was bought by Chase. But Wachovia, I went in, I opened up a bank account and everything. I did all of it by myself, and I'm 15. Pretty sure you can't do that nowadays. And then a couple months later, so I get my first debit card also. I've told this story a couple times, but I went into $600 in debt. My dad got a letter in the mail because there's no notifications, no overdraft protection or anything, because this is like 2000, early 2000s.
But you can still overdraft your account, but there's no notifications and all
no notifications or anything.
No apps and all that for sure.
I'm here just swiping the card like it's a credit card, and like it's a black card. Even though I only spent I probably spent maybe like $300 out of the 600. The rest was overdraft fees. But my dad was pissed, and he took me directly to the bank, and he said, "I need you to go inside and talk to the manager and get this fixed. I said, what do you mean? He said, just go inside and ask to talk to the manager. Tell him what's going on and figure it out. So I go inside, turns out it's this old lady who's the bank manager, and talk to her for a little bit. Anyway, I end up leaving with $6 in my bank account, or $9. I think it was $6 in my bank account. And just going through that, and just, I even get kind of like stressed thinking about it, because I remember like all that anxiety building up, like something's going to kill me or I'm going to jail kind of thing. Because I'd never been in debt. I only heard bad things about debt because I'm, 15. My dad didn't teach me a whole lot about business. I wish he did.
I mean, it sounds like he threw you into stuff so you could learn, though.
Oh yeah. He did.
That's a very good thing too.
He did a lot of really good things, and he worked for Verizon for 37 years. And he was like a head honcho with Verizon. I did get to talk to him here and there about some stuff, but he got sick in my early 20s, and he had a brain stroke, and it was hard for him to talk about anything really, or articulate his thoughts. He had to relearn English. So we went through that and all that stuff. So like speech, and he had speech impairment, but it's a bond that you can't take away, because whenever you switch roles and it's the parent who's the kid now, and the kid is now the parent taking care of the kid. It was tough, but you learn a lot and you create a different kind of bond, because my dad was hard-headed also. And he respected me completely, but he didn't always listen to me, just because he was hard-headed. But after the stroke happened, the brain stroke, he became very open-minded with instructions that I gave. Definitely grateful for those days. But I definitely don't mean to turn this into a sad podcast.
No. That's not sad, but I think it's great learning. I was going to say really quickly that
it's a bond.
My parents are still not dependent on me or on any level. And I don't wish for them to be dependent, because I want them to have a very, independent life. That's how they've always been, and they were the ones who brought both their families, my mom and my dad, brought their families out of the poverty line. They were far below the poverty line. So my mom on her side and my dad on his side were the first ones to break that, poverty line, that slumdog millionaire sort of thing that happens. That they were both those. So they're very used to working and working hard. They still work 12 hours a day and stuff like that, because that's what they know. So I'm very skeptical. I'm very scared of the time when, they will become kids, because it's going to be very hard for them. Not about me, but about them. It's going to be very hard for them to live that time. So, it's probably I have a few things to, learn from you about that, how you manage that, because more than the physical aspect, how you're helping them, how's the emotional aspect like? That's a very, very intimate discussion and topic, because I really hope it doesn't happen. But if it does, it's a very tricky time to, I think, navigate through, as a grown-up individual, taking care of their parents.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that sometime.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough for sure.
Yeah.
But it's, you have fun along the way. That's the big piece. Very grateful. But I know we're just past an hour, but we're definitely going to have part 2.
Yeah, man, for sure. There's so much more to talk about, especially non-work stuff, but also work stuff. We recently, we're hopefully going to start working together. That's going to be a story to tell, hopefully. And I think there's a lot of cool things to explore and discuss about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming in, man.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Check you next time.
Thank you. Done? Is it